Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Ken, and thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Gene Collier in just a matter of moments. Give us a call tonight. 412-575-2600 is the number on the Bordas & Bordas hotline. You can always reach out to me on Twitter, too. I'm at Richie Walsh. Any question you have right now. The big topic for today would be Le'Veon Bell again. Your daily Le'Veon Bell update right now. James Harrison offered him some free advice, Gene, basically saying show up on November 13th and fake an injury. He said that on a Fox Sports show, Gene. I'm sure you heard about it. Everyone's talking about it. Do you think that Le'Veon Bell could do something like this? This is a guy that prior to this year, when he did show up and work hard.
I don't know what to make of this, Richie. These are things that we are forced to talk about by people making ridiculous statements. And, you know, it's really getting tiresome, don't you think?
I think so. I definitely agree 100%.
I mean, James Harrison, you know, had very little to say in his entire time here with the Steelers. Now, in the last couple of weeks, he's very interested in what Le'Veon Bell is doing. You know, it reminds me of that old saying, some athletes learn how to say hello just when it's time to say goodbye. I'm tired of hearing from James. I rarely spoke with James Harrison while he was here. And the few times I did, he was not helpful. He was not cooperative. He was not interested in talking to me. I'm not really interested in what he has to say. And the same goes for Le'Veon Bell, frankly. You
know, James Harrison, a man of few words, he gave about a 10-second answer every time you asked him a question. Very rarely expounded on anything like he did.
Right, now he wants to expound. You know what? Keep it. Keep it.
So my follow-up question then is, Gene, is Le'Veon Bell feeding him information? Because it seems like he floated out the idea that he's not going to show up. It happened. Now, potentially, could this happen?
Yeah, I don't know what their relationship is. I don't much care.
Yeah, and I think it is getting kind of old, and I like Ben's answer to when he was asked about it on 93.7 The Fan. I think Ron Cook asked him the question about, you know, what do you guys do? And he said, we gotta concentrate on the people here, and he's not here. And at this point, I mean, he looks like he's overweight. I heard he's overweight, and who knows? You can't count on this guy. And I think the relationship has become contentious now, and I think it's to the point of no turning back. There is a point where I don't know now if guys will welcome him back into the room.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I don't want to minimize, you know, the loss of Le'Veon Bell. He's a great player. You know, if you could have known that he was not going to be available for these first 3 weeks, and that the Steelers would be 1-1-1, people would say, well, that's because they don't have Le'Veon Bell, and that's still not far from the truth. But, you know, the whole act, the whole drama of it is just so tiresome.
Don't you think other teams will take notice of this? Don't you think that, I mean, if it's any other business, this is hurting a person doing something like this. I mean, they would obviously, you can't call the Steelers for a reference, but if you did, I mean, what kind of reference are they going to give this guy?
You need, as I wrote in the paper the other day, you need somebody with a lot of cap room and a lot of crap room. They got to be able to put up with a lot of crap.
It's a good line. All right, so let's transition into the Steelers' running game. Pretty much non-existent right now. They don't have a Le'Veon Bell on this team. And James Conner would have to stay healthy. I think he can be a serviceable back in the NFL. He's I just saw a stat, one of 3 backs that had, 200 all-purpose yards or something and 3 touchdowns. I don't know, 200 yards rushing and whatever the stat was. But he's in the elite company of running backs right now because they throw to him too. But I'm still not sold on him staying healthy, Gene, right now. I think that's the biggest concern with everyone, right?
Well, yeah, you could say that about everyone. I think James Conner's done a good job. He had a great game at Cleveland, not so much at Kansas City, but they were behind 21-0 early against Kansas City. I thought he had a really good second half, particularly fourth quarter the other night in Tampa. You know, he's not, to me, he's not an issue. You know, the issue is, you know, can this team calm down long enough to perform, particularly in the secondary?
Yeah, and I think you hit it there, right there. I mean, the issue isn't the running game, I guess. The issue is they're getting down so many points where they got to throw the ball and keep up with other teams because the defense hasn't been that great. All right, We're taking your phone calls tonight at 412-575-2600 on the Bordas & Bordas hotline. You can always reach out to me at Rich Walsh or Gene at Gene Collier. Back in a couple minutes.